Welcome back to part 2, Motorola 7-inch TS-4B chassis. Alright, I'm going to restuff these high voltage caps. So, heat gun, tweezers, my glove I use to hold on to it. These should come out pretty easy. This is a .005 6000 volt, and the new one too small. So just take a piece of cardboard, I just freehand it, make it round, and poke a hole in it. Just push it in the sleeve like that, and then we'll fill it up with glue. This is brown hot glue. Gotta cut a sleeve to the opposite side. Alright, high voltage caps restuffed and reinstalled. Well, I don't think I'm going to be able to restuff these caps. This is one that the label was torn on, so I cut the rest of the label. And while it still looks good, you know, it could be glued back on another cap, but here's the way these are made. So I don't think there's any way of drilling those out. It's just going to break apart if you try to drill it. And here's a solution I came up with to use these paper labels that were on the original caps. I just sliced the label with a box cutter. That allowed it to come off of the old cap. And then, because these caps are shorter, did have to cut each side of the label down, but you can still see the Motorola logo, and you can still see the value. So we just simply put them in here. I'm just using some wood glue, or Elmer's glue would work too, white glue, and doesn't take much. Put a dab underneath the first side of the one side of the label. Put a little bit on the other side of the label, and just roll it together. And that glue's sticky enough that it will stay there until it dries. And there's our new cap with the old label. Chassis seems to be playing really well. Good sound.
The last time I saw you was at the top.
Have one more thing to do on the chassis repair. It's the 3 electrolytics. Fortunately, these all have the cardboard sleeves on them, so we're going to try just to heat them up and get the sleeves off. Then we'll cut the caps at the bottom, the cans, put the new filter caps in on the top, put the sleeves back on, have all 3 of the covers off, and you can see the tar, the top of that one, that was on this one. Now, this one had very little on the top, and this center one, it had something different. It wasn't tar, so I don't know if that's a replacement, possibly, I don't know. But anyway, we got the 3 covers off. Had the first electrolytic cut apart. Just used a utility knife, just sliced around it. It's aluminum, really soft. And we'll drill a couple of holes with a new cap. This is just a single section, so we'll drill 2 holes for the ground and the positive. Mount the cap. Glue the cover back on. All 3 caps are restuffed. So I'm going to put the tubes back in. See if we're still working okay. Alright, working okay. So now we'll put the covers back. But before I do that, I'm going to clean in between them. Get some of the dirt out. Alright, a little cleaning on the chassis. We got the 3 cardboard tubes put back over the filter caps. One final look. Not a whole lot to do to the cabinet other than pull the picture tube out, and really dirty. You can see the film on it, and I'm not sure about that surround that's disintegrated. We may try to put a piece of foam or something around that just to make it look a little better. This bracket right here, this holds the tube in, and the front actually just sits in that gasket. See, this one's loose because the gasket's disintegrated. I think that needs just a little bit of cleaning. Well, we've had some repairs done on this in the past. I wondered why the old original gasket wasn't all disintegrated and down in front of the face of the tube. They took tacks and fastened it back, so we'll have to work on that, get all that crud out of there. There's something interesting on this tube. It's an air bubble. And it's far enough to the edge it probably wouldn't show up anyway, but I don't think I've ever seen that before in the face of a tube. Okay, tube's cleaned up. Now let's work on this front bezel. Notice one more thing that's different on this cabinet, which kind of proves it's an early VT-71. It's got a screw here, and I've already taken this one out. And that holds this trim piece on the front right here that you have to take off to access the front bezel to remove it. Here's an example in the later sets. See, they have a little plug screw behind it. You take those off, and then this front piece of trim comes off. So another difference on these early cabinets. And not only does it have a screw on each corner, here and over here, you also have to loosen these 2 screws. They thread into the front of the little trim piece there at the bottom. So now it should come off. Alright. Yep. So definitely different than the later version cabinets. And I think this trim piece is the same. However, this old gasket, right, especially right in here, has it stuck, so I don't want to force it. So I think I better work inside the cabinet and try to get some of that gasket out of the way. Here's how this trim piece is held with this lower piece of trim. So there's a groove plowed in the edge of it, and it goes in a tab that's hanging down like that. Alright, got everything scraped off. There's 3 of the larger pieces. This is what happens to those masks when they start to deteriorate. And still a little bit of flexible action right there, but for the most part they just dry out, get hard, and you have to break them out. There's some of the tacks that they put in with the, I think that's pieces of cardboard to hold it in. Well, that cleaned up pretty good. Got a decent little scratch right there, but we're not going to do any buffing or do anything because this is just a resurrection. We're going to leave the dings where they're at. Hooked up the CRT to the chassis to see which way is up, so when I put it in the case I'll have it close to where it needs to be. And yes, I had to turn the overhead lights off, but it's not really that dark in here, and you definitely got a pretty good tube. So I'll mark the up position. Here's what I'm going to try to use around the picture tube. This is actually just foam, and what it's for, like if you've got wide gaps around a door, window, or any kind of opening at your house, you can put this in first and then you can caulk over the top of it. But I think this is 1/2 inch. I think it's going to be just about right to put around the perimeter of that tube. And there's my solution. We'll see how it looks once I get the tube put in. I think that'll fill that gap up enough. And it is loose, so I can push it forward if I need to. My joint, I turned it up. This is the top of the tube, so I turned the joint up where I glued it together. Just got some tape on it there now just to hold it till the glue dries. So that'll be up in here, and you won't see it from the front set. Well, not perfect, but it'll work. You can see the foam around the edge there. Alright, let's put the chassis in. Fortunately, the feet on this set are still good. I mean, they're worn, but they're still intact, and they'll work. Here's a lower panel. There's those channel presets. Just got little covers that you pull off to set the channel you're wanting to tune in. So this actually slides in with the chassis. You can see it's got a lip. Set the chassis on this, slide both in at the same time. There's the chassis sets in the tray. And we've got to plug our speaker up. Should be right in there. Yep, looks pretty good. Now to put these chassis screws in, just pull the set over the edge of the bench. We'll get this side started. The other side here at the back. I'm going to go ahead and snug them up because I'm pretty confident I'm in the right position here. You kind of tell where the tray's been sitting on the wood in the past, so I think we're good. That'll hold the chassis without it dropping down on you. And we'll plug the tube up, picture tube. That's an HD feed, so I'm going to hook up the analyzer and we'll get a pattern on the screen. That way we know it's adjusted correctly. Looks pretty good. There's pretty good centering. Now horizontal. Not bad. I think that'll work. And here's the back of the set. This original cord, it's kind of bent looking right there, but it's not. It's still making good connection. So I'm just going to keep it on the back to keep that original look. Won't be turning this set on that often, and I have tried it and it works fine, so I think the cord is still okay. And I decided just to leave those wood knobs on the front. I did make me a little mark there on the channel selector to tell you what position you're in. I think I have the light colored knobs that was originally on this set, but I'm not sure I have all three of them. I think I've got two larger ones and one small one, so that might not look right. And these will work. So it's the way when I bought the set, this is what was on it, so we're going to go with that. And that completes the resurrection of the Motorola 1948 VT-71 blonde cabinet. See you next time. We hope you've enjoyed this video. If you did, hit the like button, and we'd love it if you would subscribe to our channel. Thanks.